back about yourself,
Yeah.
like what you've done. You're like, okay, I can do this. It's an affirmation that someone said to you. So thank you. I appreciated you reading that. Yes, I'm Colleen Silk, and I want to thank everyone for allowing me into your space tonight. This means a lot to me for multiple reasons. It's very full circle. But this is not my first CHOW meeting. And I actually know, like I said, I know the courage it takes to be here. I attended my first meeting back in 2021, shortly after a friend of mine, a former colleague, he lost his life during the pandemic. He struggled with addiction, like many of us in the industry, and during that time, he did not make it through. And if I'm being honest, a lot of us were not okay. We lost our income, we lost our structure, we lost connection, we lost the best part of us, which is this human to human experiences that we give to other people. And unfortunately, in some cases, we lost people and really good people at that. I actually got an email from the James Beard Foundation that there was this organization called CHOW, and they were hosting a women's meeting if I was interested in joining. And I signed up. I almost didn't show up. I was really, really nervous because I didn't know what I was going to say. And if what I was going to say sounded stupid and if my voice actually mattered, this was very new to me. But I went. And I remember sitting there kind of guarded, which is not like me. I'm usually very open and talkative, but I was really nervous because I was carrying a lot. And then other people started talking very honestly. There was no filter. They just said what they were feeling. And that was the first time in a very long time. I just had a baby. My job had been cut in half, lost my friend, that I finally was like, oh, I can do this. Like, this is what I'm thinking too. I didn't have to say I'm fine. And people that are in recovery may know what fine stands for. Because I kept saying I was fine, but I wasn't. And I didn't have to pretend. At that time, I just had my daughter. And after I had her, I was actually responding to emails, pumping and breastfeeding all at the same time and thinking this is ridiculous. But I had lost so much money that I was just going to keep doing it. And the industry was trying to come back to life. So I needed to be coming back to life too. And it was that time in 2021. As I was navigating all of that and navigating grief of who I used to be and grief of what our life and our normalcy was, I didn't know I could be off. I thought I always had to be on. And
Mhm.
finding a space like Chow where I didn't have to perform, where I could just literally be myself, it stuck with me. Obviously, here in 2026. But my story started way before that. Like a lot of us, I was really young when I got in the industry. I was 17. And I remember my first shift drink to this day. It was during the World Cup in 2006, and it was at an Irish pub in Bethesda, Maryland. I remember thinking, this is amazing. I'm a part of something. I'm with the cool kids who were like, could have been my parents, and drinking with them. And it was totally exciting. But I was also thinking, if my parents found out, I would be in so much trouble and I would not be working here anymore if they knew this was like the norm that I was experiencing. But that's the thing about this industry. It just like sucks you in and it pulls you in. It's the energy, the camaraderie, the chaos. And before you know it, you are like stuck in it. And for me, I got caught in the cycle, the rinse repeat cycle: work, drink, close, go out, wake up, do it again. And somewhere in that cycle, I ended up in a relationship with someone in the industry. He was a chef. He was back of house. I was front of house. I'm sure you all can imagine it didn't end great. And what started as like this exciting relationship, I was older. I had a higher title. Nothing about it was good. It was incredibly toxic. The tension at work came home, home at work. And I didn't recognize the person I was in. It ended badly, like I'm sure you guys were expecting. And I found myself really confused and really lost. And I didn't recognize myself. I had no confidence. I felt used and betrayed. And I left our place of employment because I had to be the one to leave, not him. And that messed me up really, really bad. I didn't trust anyone. I struggled to reconnect with my friends because I had been isolated from my friends outside of work. I didn't want to be in another relationship. I didn't know I could do that, if I would be able to. And a lot of heaviness like lingered in my life, and it coped away. A lot of us cope. I just drank and I avoided my life. I would go out after work. I would eat terribly. And I just tried to pretend that my life wasn't happening or what I just experienced didn't happen. And then one night I got a DUI. And I remember a coworker said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just your first one." And I was like, "The hell? This isn't my first. I don't want this to be my ever one. Like, this is not something that I want to happen ever again." And I thought to myself, what is wrong with me? Like, where am I? Where did I go? And how do I find myself again? No more excuses, no more blaming other people, no more blaming him for why I was in the situation. I just needed to get out and move on in some way. So I up and moved to Chicago. My mom was from there. I had no plans. It wasn't glamorous. I lived in a above a Starbucks in like a little box. And I used their free Wi-Fi, and I used the laundry room down the street, and I was figuring out. I worked multiple jobs. I said yes to everything. I didn't want to be afraid while I was there. And I just wanted to rebuild myself, rebuild my confidence, rebuild the person that I was before this relationship. And that's where I ended up at the Berghoff, which is a historical restaurant in Chicago. And everything shifted for me. I saw hospitality very differently. It wasn't about the plate on the food that I was serving or the happy hour drinks that I was slinging. It's about the stories that we tell within these spaces. The building was historic. It was right after the Chicago fires, the same family that owned it for 4 years. Women weren't allowed in the bar in there until the late 60s, until Glorious Dynam came in. I was a manager, and people said, "Oh, a skirt's running the joint." Like, I experienced hospitality in a way that I'd never in my entire life. And I just thought, oh, so this can be a career. There's so much more than waiting tables or working in the back of house. There's other opportunities within it. And somewhere in the mix of all of that, I also met my now husband. And I say this very lovingly. He was a server, but he was terrible at his job. And he is no longer in the industry, which is for the best. But we just clicked. And now, over a decade later, we have two beautiful children. And he is the most supportive person in my life. And he's not a lifer or like a pirate, like I refer to many of us lovingly in the industry, but he understands how important it is to me. He saw me through the pandemic. He saw me through struggling with postpartum and trying to be in the industry. He saw me want to build this podcast and do a documentary. And he saw that this is where we built our life and how precious and important this industry will be to me for the rest of my life and our children. And somewhere along the journey of all of this, my roles have evolved. And now I'm the founder of Hospitality Bites Media because I wanted to create a platform to elaborate on these conversations. I had the honor, and I'm actually going to continue the honor of sitting on the honorary board at CHOW through this next year, which was so full circle for me and just privileged to be a part of it. And now I sit as the CCMO at the Burnt Chef North America expansion from the UK here, where we want to keep pushing, more mental health education, awareness, and support through the industry alongside our friends here at CHOW and at Ben's Friends. But none of those roles came from me having it figured out. It came from me living in the industry, asking questions, failing, and trying again multiple times, and also seeing where the gaps were. Because before all this really took shape where I am now, I went to a moment in my life that completely changed who I am now and the trajectory of Hospitality Bites Media. In 2023, I had a miscarriage while I was bartending and managing behind the bar. Mid-shift, people calling for drinks, telling me the happy hour's ending, so I better hurry up and get their Coors Light before you don't get it for $2 anymore. And my dear friend who owned the bar and restaurant and a mother knew immediately what was happening. She could see like my face going white, and I just didn't know how to breathe or do anything, and she sent me home. And the next morning I woke up and she had left bread pudding at my front door, which is like, she knows my favorite thing that she makes. And it was like this simple gesture that I'd never experienced, where there was no questions asked. It was go do what you need to do and take care of yourself. And it wasn't like, who's going to cover your shift? It was like, we just know that you're going through something traumatic and we can't understand that. And we want you to know that's going to be okay. And there's a place for you when you're ready. And it sat with me for all this time. And that's where Unhospitable, my documentary, was born from. It was not from wanting just to make a documentary and say I'm a filmmaker, but from asking, why are we so quiet about women's health and all taboo topics? What is it about this industry that we're so afraid to offend in the way that if we just keep it quiet, then we're not hurting the person next to us, when in reality, it's doing the complete opposite. I have no problem making people uncomfortable. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to watch it. You don't have to listen to it, but I'm going to keep doing it anyways, because I do know that there's someone else like me. There's another person that's going through a struggle that needs to hear these types of things. But it's not just a story. It's going to lead to something so much more. It's going to be a tool, and I want to use it to create conversations, to create resources, toolkits, real support that our industry does not have. Just with speaking of women's health specifically, a lot of us don't have HR. So no one knows how to talk to a woman when she's pregnant or on her period or going through the end stages of it all. And how do you support them? And what is the biological change that we're going through that we can't be on our feet for 14 hours? And no, we just can't put a diaper on and that's going to make it go away. We're humans. We are not robots. We need to be treated the same way that other people are treated in every other industry. So the more that I've built this out and the more I've realized that this is not just in one place. So we meet people where they are. And through CHOW meetings like this and through a very exciting collaboration with CHOW, we're putting a podcast together called 86 The Stigma. So it'll be powered by Hospitality Bites, housed in the CHOW community. Because there are so many things we've 86 in this industry: conversations, our feelings, and people. And this season is about bringing them back. So through the Burnt Chef Project, we're going to build education, training, support systems, and Unhospitable lives in the middle of that. It's the bridge. It's the stories, the conversations, the resources, and the support. Because it isn't about taking up space. It's about sharing it with each other, building it, pulling up another chair, making sure people feel like they belong at the table. So I want to thank you all for listening to my story and being engaging and letting me, again, come into your space, because this is where it all starts together and being uncomfortable. So thank you all.